Ready!
So underway here in Kontiolahti, day 2, and it's the men's 4 by 7.5k relay. Norway wearing 1, Germany 2, Italy 3, France 4, Sweden with 5 on their chest, Austria 6, Switzerland 7, Slovenia 8, Czechia 9, and Finland with 10.
You can see get a good look at the course now. It definitely looks much warmer and softer than it did even during the single mixed relay yesterday. So different course conditions. All 3 races we've seen so far this weekend in Kontiolahti have different course conditions. I like what they've done here with the course. You see the V boards, those blue boards, they open up so that at the start of the relay they can actually double the width of the course to let athletes through, and a lot of people use that to get ahead on that before they hit that turn.
Just how key will a good start be? Obviously, when we compare it, of course, to what we saw yesterday in the single mix, a lot more time to correct anything that goes wrong, but how key will be getting around this first lap and into shooting well be, Chad?
It's usually largely inconsequential, to be honest. I mean, the biggest thing is it's a promenade, essentially. You get out there and you kind of dance around the first loop. Nobody's going to really try to get away. At least normally nobody will, unless they feel like the conditions are slow and might be able to do some damage to some athletes. But really, a lot of times when you go out and strike out on your own at the front of a World Cup, first lap of a World Cup relay, the only person you're probably going to challenge the most is yourself in trying to calm yourself for that first shooting stage. So we tend to see relative pedestrian first laps, and the race really kind of begins with the first shooting stage, typically.
So Norway and Kontiolahti Laglide first through our first split, which is 1.2 kilometers.
Campbell Wright, chomping at the bit for the United States, moves up from 12th to 4th already by the first time check. He's certainly looking like he's game on for the season.
And he was due to go yesterday in the mixed relay. The USA, though, lapped, so he didn't get an opportunity. So he's one of them who is on fresh legs today. And how nice is it, Chad? Obviously, there's, with the stream of talent that comes through the USA, to have someone as hyped as Campbell Wright at the moment.
Well, I think he's kind of setting a new tone for the team. We have some talent on the United States team that that just kind of needed another spark plug to make a foursome, and I think that foursome, well, it's 6 guys for 4 spots, really. I mean, you got Vincent Bonacci on the IBU Cup, who's certainly capable of competing at the World Cup, and the United States hasn't been in that situation in men's biathlon maybe ever, to have that kind of depth, to have 6 athletes, to actually have to earn your spot to make the World Cup team in the top 4, and then if you're not, you actually have a shot at a top 10 at an IBU Cup if you go. So, I actually work with Paul Schomer a little bit on the side, who is on the U.S. biathlon team and won the trials, and he's going to try to come back and race the second half of the season. And he's excited to go to the IBU Cup because he thinks he can contend for a win there. That's kind of a nice place for the United States team to be.
So good shot of the conditions there.
We see the glare of the lights on the snow. Still a little bit glazed where the skis have gone, but the camera lens tells you the story that it's so wet. But there's a good shot of that wall, and a good shot of Campbell Wright at the bottom, following Kontiolahti Lagride of Norway. Lagride, obviously one of the top athletes in the sport altogether. So solid on the shooting range. He's got a slew of podiums. He was on the IBU Cup, well, I think it was 4 years ago, and then in Kontiolahti he broke out here 3 years ago and got on the podium in the first World Cup race of the season, and he's never looked back. And now he's a 3-time individual world champion and one of the biggest names of the sport, and he just kind of had a meteoric rise, and sometimes it happens with athletes. You don't even necessarily see it coming.
He's leading the way for a very strong Norwegian team, none of which competed yesterday. Fresh legs all round. And the Bow brothers, we get our first glimpse of Talia and Johannes Tingers. It will be the 5-time now overall Crystal Globe winner who will bring it home for Norway.
I was trying to get your bearings on the first World Cup of the season, the new suits. The United States goes from a navy blue to a royal blue. And the Italian suits is really the one that's throwing me off, both in Nordic skiing and in biathlon. they look like Finns to me, or French. But so just trying to watch the tones of the blue to know which team is which.
There are plenty of similarities between our top 4 at the minute.
Yeah.
And the colours. Thankfully, it's very clear on the camera there as we see Campbell Wright following Norway's Stella Holmløyguide into the range for the first time.
Each athlete shooting twice in each of their legs, 4 legs total. They go 7.5 kilometers, 2.5 kilometer loop 3 times for each athlete. This first shooting stage, they will shoot on their bib number. It's the only shooting stage all race that they will shoot on their bib number. From this point on, after this shooting stage, they will file into the range in the order they are in the race. But you can see everybody kind of peeling off to where they're assigned to shoot. That's just to kind of create order in the first shooting stage. And the other thing that's nice about this for these guys, they zero their rifles on paper before the race, and they zero in on the number they're shooting on the first stage. So you see the United States up top. Campbell Wright has 2 down, quickly 3 down for Campbell Wright very quickly at the top, and he's got to miss on the 3rd shot. Germany is 3 for 3. Norway is 5 for 5 clean. Lagerheide does his job. France goes clean, 5 for 5. Italy, Germany, all clean, 5 for 5. Austria, Switzerland, Slovenia, Czech Republic, Finland, and they're out of there. United States is out of there with 1 extra round. And leaving the shooting range, it is Lagerheide by 2.5 seconds over Zobel of Germany. Fabien Claude for France in 3rd. And field really not a real decisive shooting stage there, as the top 15 teams are all in the 15 seconds. So 1 team per second on average. It was didn't do much to thin out the field that first shooting stage.
No, not at all. Not much to separate. Well, there's 10 seconds back to 10th. So that tells you everything you need to know about that first shooting stage. As we on board there with Stella Holmløyguide.
So now we have to go to the second stage or to the ski course to start finding some differentiation between the teams. And like you asked, Ellen, now is the time that you're going to start seeing some people throw down some skiing performances, and their skiing becomes a bigger factor in the competition. This is number 4, Fabien Claude, following the lead of Lagerheide. Lagerheide is a 88% prone shooter. He shot better than that, shot perfect 100% there. It was 88% last season, 85 from the standing position. The Frenchman, 85 and 78 by comparison. So he's a full 8% worse at the standing shooting than the man he's following right now as they head on the second loop and head towards the standing stage.
Fabien Claude as well, fresh legs. France opting to start with an athlete who wasn't racing yesterday. They're glued to the back of Stella Holmløyguide. The next marker we will get time checks on is 3.7 kilometers. Fabien Claude, of course, part of that silver medal winning team in the Beijing 2022 Olympic Games. As the athletes approach and come through 3.7 kilometers.
Lagerheide leads. You see the 0 plus 0, that's the key there. 0.6 of a second separating the first 2 teams. And it's David Zobel from Germany, then David Komatz of Austria in the 4th spot. Campbell Wright moved back up to 5th despite a missed shot. So Wright moving very well on the course. Seems like Campbell Wright cannot wait for the season to begin. Tugging at the rope like a dog trying to pull his master on a walk.
What would Campbell Wright see as a good outcome from this season? Obviously, you know, we talk about meteoric rises. He's had such a big impact since he started on the World Cup circuit. What do you think he'll see as a success from this season?
I think he's probably, well, he spent a lot of the season sick last year, and I think that's a really hard place to come back from. The fact that he actually got in the top 10 a couple times off of sickness early in the season is almost a miracle. It shows you just what level of athlete and talent we're dealing with Campbell Wright. But I think that he's going to probably want to see at least a podium finish on a World Cup individual competition. And I think they'd all like to see, you know, maybe something like a new nation's best, at least in the last 20 years. If they can go in the top 5 in the relay or better, get on a podium in the relay, I think that's probably something that all the American men are keen to do this year. And I think he's leading that charge is probably Campbell Wright.
Currently in that big trailing group that sit around at the last checkpoint, just under 8 seconds back on Lagerlöd and Klopp.
Campbell Wright was 12.8 seconds back after the first shooting in the last time check. He was 9 seconds back, so he's making time on Lagerlöd. We'll see that. We'll have to watch the ski loop for leg number 1 of the second ski loop and see what his ski time is.
Support starting to build up the side of the wall. And as we've said already plenty of times over the course of this weekend, that camera angle really not doing complete justice. You can see how hard they're working. Just a second separating the top 2. Norway leading from France.
The gap to the chase group was 7.6 seconds last time. Now it's up to 10. So the chase group slowing a little bit compared to the speed of Lagerlöd at the front. Cloud hanging tight, 1 second back, so getting a little bit of advantage. But you know, the leads in these biathlon races aren't those tenths of seconds made on the course. It really comes down to shooting performance and whether you can knock the shots down and you don't waste any time on the range.
Well, a little word was that between our leading pair. What do you think was being said there, Chad?
Perhaps discussing who wants to lead into the shooting range. Lagerlöd, one of the things about being in the first position is you don't have to see the athlete behind you, especially if you're a right-handed shooter, which both of these athletes are.
Well, it's Czechia who are up into 3rd. Vítězslav Holník competed yesterday in the single mix, the 25-year-old. And just behind him, now Germany and Jovel. Campbell Wright in 5th as they approach this next shooting stage.
Yeah, Holník really not the capacity athlete that you'd expect to make a move on the field like this early in the race. He's a personal best finish of 40th in the World Cup competition. He's a much slower ski speed statistically than the rest of the field. He may be taking extra risk for no reason at this point, but feeling I mean, I think the thing is the first weekend of racing in Biathlon World Cup is always exciting, and the athletes tend to maybe make decisions like Holník is right now, just making a surge out of emotion more than actual tactic.
So here we go into the range for the second time. Norway and France side by side. Both 2 for 2, 3 for 3. And both clear and out, neck and neck.
Synchronized shooting, it's great when that happens. Matching each other shot for shot.
Germany 4 for 4 as well. And go clear, as do the USA and Campbell Wright.
Great start for the American team. Still in the top 5. Holník struggling as we might have expected. Maybe taking a flyer off the front wasn't such a good idea. Now Zobel comes up through for Germany in 3rd spot, Stalder 4th, Wright 5th, but all of them, Ranta 6th and Dovzhan in 7th. The top 7 teams, just 17 seconds separating them. That's a pretty tight first leg.
It is indeed, and the athletes from 3rd down to 7th. Not much to separate them at all. Quite a big trailing pack at this point. Still incredibly early stages of this competition.
Yeah, Dovzhan, the fastest shooting time in that standing stage, 17.5 seconds from poles down to poles up. Campbell Wright, 24.7. He's 7th fastest on the range that time. Lagerlöd comes in 24 seconds even, so 7/10 faster than Wright. But the point is, Campbell Wright is shooting competitively with the rest of the top of the field. And Dovzhan is fastest, Ranta, Stalder, both at 18 seconds, Zobel at 22. 17.5 seconds is really fast shooting for Dovzhan. He needs to do that because he really doesn't have the ski speed to compete on the course. out onto the last lap for this leg. They'll tag off to their second leg skiers. For Norway, that's Tarjei Bø. And we'll get the first look at the Bø brothers in the form of Tarjei. Tarjei having one of his best seasons ever last year at the ripe young age of 35, now 36 years of age. In his season last year, he finished second in the overall standings. The only season he's done better than that was when he won the overall World Cup standings back in 2010, 2011. So Tarjei Bø coming off of the second best season of a long career, late in his career.
Well, it's interesting what Johannes Tingers, his younger brother, was saying about wanting to make sure he keeps beating Tarjei, because he doesn't want Tarjei to have some big wins and then retire before Johannes Tingers has an opportunity to beat Bjørn Dahlen's incredible records, and something that, well, we're likely probably not to see beaten again within our lifetimes.
Yeah, if it's in our lifetime, it's going to be at least late in our lifetime. I'm going to be an older gentleman by the time those get beat. There's nobody really in you and I talked, we look back into the field of youngsters, and right now nobody really taking the mantle that Johannes Tingnesbø did when he was younger, that as an indicator that he was going to go to the highest level. I remember the first time Martin Fourcade, I was calling the Olympics in 2010, the biathlon competitions, and this young guy never heard of. We knew his older brother, Simon Fourcade, but then the young guy named Martin, who was 20 years old at the time, he finished in the silver medal spot in the mass start, and I believe it was a mass start. But yeah, he had an incredibly fast ski time, much faster than Bjørn Dahlen, and you knew there was something special right then. And we haven't seen that sort of manifestation of a Johannes Tingnesbø nor a Martin Fourcade in a young athlete at 20 years of age like we did in those two athletes' cases.
Well, after the end of the 2026 season, it is something that we will certainly be looking out for. Another overall Crystal Globe win this year would take him level with Bjørn Dahlen, the king of biathlon. And then you imagine it will be sights set on beating the Olympic records in terms of medals collected, and of course going for a 7th to be the outright overall.
He could do it.
He'd be king at that point, wouldn't it? Could he take the crown?
And I think that if you look at the rate of which Bjørn Dahlen did that over 21 seasons, which is mind-boggling and almost mind-numbing to think about. Just the single focus on the sport. Is Claude now really putting the hammer to leg ride, and this is something we talked about at the top of the show. Fresh legs don't always mean good things, and you can see Fabien Claude really making leg ride struggle now. Leg ride can't really manage it, and you see it in Campbell Wright too. Campbell Wright is looking really tired now. He's still in 5th place, but losing time to the leaders. Fabien Claude really the class of the field in this first leg on the skis.
Well, Fabien Claude launching his attack to try and send France through the first exchange in the lead. He'll be handing over to Fillon Maillet, took 2nd place in the single mixed relay yesterday.
Leg ride just picking up the pieces, trying to keep it close. Doesn't need to necessarily tag off first, but this is more of a point of pride than it is for anything for Sturla leg ride as he hands off to Tarjei Bø. And we're going to have a nice battle between the French and the Norwegian teams, and it's kind of nice battles all the way through the competition, as Eric Perrault, the youngest athlete of the French team, will go up against the least experienced and youngest athlete of the Norwegian team in Endre Stromsheim. So these athletes all know each other very well. Perrault and Stromsheim cut their teeth on the IBU Cup at the same time and have graduated up to their senior national teams on the World Cup. Claude looking watch Claude's steps, very sharp and crisp at the end of the kick. Leg ride a little bit soft at the end of his push. If you just focus on where the ski comes off the ground, that little bit of dynamism shows you that Claude's body working a little bit better for him today.
So final turn and into the exchange. France will hand over first, and it is Fillon Maillet, the green 4 with the number 2 to indicate his place in the order. He will pick up for France. Norway handover. Seconds, 6 behind, 46-10.
I think the key today for Quentin Fillon-Maillet is to try to get his shooting under control. We saw him melt down yesterday in the mixed relay and give up the lead, and that was not something typical of Fillon-Maillet when he has more confidence. So, in the sport, you know, it's like big sluggers in Major League Baseball, as we see the United States and Slovenia come in. So Campbell Wright really slowing down that last loop, drops to 40 seconds back. But much like big sluggers in baseball, this sport on the shooting range is much about like momentum and mental momentum and mental confidence. And I think Fillon-Maillet is still trying to search for that for the last couple of years now, where he doesn't feel infallible.
Finland handing over there as well. On home snow, they're wearing bib number 10. It's Birkenhalter of Switzerland who is now up into third. And as you can see on the screen, those splits from exchange. Switzerland 26.1 behind.
Minute 3 seconds separating the first 15 teams. That's really not a big spread of time to 15th place. A minute swing from now to the end of the competition is certainly possible, but there's nobody at the back that we really expected to be at the front right now. If you think about the order of this competition, with France first, Norway second, Switzerland third, Slovenia fourth, United States fifth. You know, Germany you might consider Germany, Sweden should be further towards the front, but they're only 43 seconds back at Sweden. That's a pretty good job by Brandt. I would call that mission accomplished for Brandt, actually, with his ski ability. Now it's up to the three strong legs of Sweden to work their way through the field and get them back into medal contention.
Jesper Nalen is on this leg for Sweden. Olympic gold medalist back in 2018, of course, played a massive role in that victory. Third in the mixed relay yesterday as well, and world champion in this event.
Tarjebu trailed by 9 seconds to Fillon-Maillet at the exchange. He's 7.8 back now, so he's the lone athlete making time on Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Everybody else staying even or losing time so far in this first time check at 8.7 kilometers. There's Maxime Germain. Very interesting story. Germain has French parents, French and American parents. He split his whole life between France and the United States. Has a little bit of a French accent if you talk to him. Very interesting guy, 23 years of age, but has some nice performances in the World Cup. His best World Cup finish is 45th, but he's still very young at 23 years of age. At the Junior World Championships, he has a bronze medal in the sprint competition and against Campbell Wright. Campbell Wright won that race. They actually trained as teammates, even though Campbell Wright was still competing for New Zealand at that time. Campbell Wright, much the same as Maxime Germain, has two different parents from two different countries. Campbell Wright's parents are from the United States, but he was born and raised in New Zealand.
Yep, two dual nationality athletes, both competing for the USA, also roommates as well. Let's see. He was joking last season, saying he peaked early in the season, and well, I'm sure the USA team will be quite happy for him to show some of that early season form and launch them further up the order here through 8.7. USA in 9th.
Maxime still drawing even with this pace set by Fillon-Maillet at the front, so that's a good sign that Maxime Germain is feeling good, at least in the early part of this race. Bib number 7, that is
Switzerland and Birkenhalter, the 28-year-old.
Birkenhalter, I would say probably the second weakest link of the Swiss team. The strongest athlete went first, Sebastian Stalder. Nicholas Hartweg also very strong. Stalder and Hartweg, I think, are guys that can actually compete for victories at some point in their career. Maybe after Tarjebu has retired, but still, Hartweg and Stalder really can bring the Swiss team into these World Championships in Lenzerheide with some excitement.
Vidmar. And Slovenia up into third. Berghalter fourth. And still Fielmaye for 1-2.
France and Norway now pulling away from the field, a big gap of nearly 30 seconds from Bø to Vidmar, and there's a big group racing for third spot, and in that group is Switzerland, Czech Republic, Germany, Sweden, Austria, Belgium, the United States. And then there's another drop back to Podruchny and the Ukraine, another 8 seconds back to them from 9th to 10th.
So Fielmaye and France first into the range, closely followed by Talia Bø.
Good start. I want to see that first one go down, kind of breathe a sigh of relief. You can see the graphic on the left of the screen showing the wind kind of coming at them and moving the shots left to right, but perfect shooting for the Frenchmen, and that's exactly what the French need to see. The Fielmaye 82% prone position, and Talia Bø now with a miss. That's going to give about 10 to 12 seconds to the Frenchman, as he's already through the time check after the first shooting of leg number 2.
Switzerland taking their time. Berghalter now 3 for 3. Miss on 4. Slovenia as well. And 1 miss. We'll have to dip into the spare rounds, but they'll make their way out of the range.
The Austria, the big winner, they went 5 for 5. They're going to move up the standings and into third. Ader taking the opportunity to fill that void after Talia Bø with a clean shooting stage puts them not in contention for the win, but in a great spot to take a podium spot.
Johannes Kuhn as well, not far behind him for Germany. Brilliant prone accuracy last season, 92%.
Look at the shooting time of that group. The fastest shooter of that group was Ader. He was clean. Then he was 2 seconds clear of Nadezhda Kubiniak of Poland, and a full, 5 seconds faster than Fielmaye. So Simon Ader gained 5 seconds on that shooting stage on the leader, Quentin Fielmaye. Fielmaye taking his time, but he got them all down. I think the key is you'd rather give up those 5 seconds and make sure you have all hits.
And no surprise to see that from Simon Ader. Very similar to what we saw from him yesterday. Performed very well in the single mixed, finishing 4th with Lisa Tauliza-Hauser. 19th season competing on the circuit, now 41 years old.
Yeah, I don't remember a biathlon season without Simon Ader. At this point, he's been and his father Alfred Ader did the same thing. He competed in the Olympics in 1994 at the age of 40. So longevity of the Ader family in the sport of biathlon is he and his father together spanning 40 years in the sport.
Absolutely incredible. So Fielmaye quite some way ahead of Talia Bø. It's flashed up 23.3. The difference at 11.2 kilometers.
Thinking back a couple seconds, he was 25.7 back after the shooting stage. So Talia looks good. His skiing is snappy. But honestly, Ellen, these early races, it is kind of tough to know which U is going to show up on day one. You don't know if you're going to have that snap. You see Jesper Nalin, he has that race in him yesterday. He's looking pretty solid right there in the ski technique. He's looking very, very dynamic.
And they've climbed 3 places as well since exchange. Sweden up into 5th now.
Kritsmar in 11th for Czech Republic. Clean shooting for Czech Republic, but still sitting in 11th spot. Would hope to be a little bit higher with 0+0.
Ukraine as well, flicking around 8th, 9th, 10th, currently in 9th. They had such a good day yesterday, Ukraine. Performing well, 2 top 10 finishes in the single mixed and the mixed. 6th in the single mixed. Performance, good day for Ukraine.
The Ukraine has had a great women's relay program. They went a stretch of 3 straight Olympics winning medals in the women's relay. It's they're not that level anymore, but there was a time when you could just count on the Ukrainian women's team to step up and win a medal at a major championship, and particularly the Olympics. But far cry from that, they've had so much to deal with to keep the sporting programming alive and flourishing.
Theo Maé making his way up the wall, well supported from the stands. Glimpse of a French flag in there as well. Taliabo. Turn to drive. Yes, formidable slope.
He keeps making about 2 seconds per time check. So time check to time check. Boo left the shooting range behind Theo Maé at 25 seconds back. Now he's 21.7 seconds back. He's moved back a total of 5 seconds over that kilometer and a half.
Now this big group come through the checkpoint. 7 athletes, all within 2 seconds, 3 seconds of each other.
Maxime Germain now has moved into the 3rd spot, keeping that in medal contention. As you said early in the show, you asked what Campbell Wright would like, and I think Campbell Wright would like to see exactly what he's seeing happen right now. With the United States sticking their nose into it for real in a relay like this.
Jake Brown will be up next for the United States. It's Theo Maé, who's now coming into the range for shooting 2 of this leg, shooting 4 of overall. Wipe of the glasses before moving them onto the top of his head.
Nobody to contend with for Theo Maé. He's got it range all to himself before he removes his rifle from his back. Now coming into sight, Taliabo. But that time melts away if you miss. Nice shot at the target. 6 o'clock hit. Prone ring hit. It's dead center X. That one's right on the edge. Almost, 4th shot almost didn't go down. But everything else was well inside the target.
And he's out before Taliabo even comes into his point to shoot.
So now the Norwegians, feeling the heat of the Frenchmen, forcing their hand a little bit to try to catch up, because now it gets into his mind, does Taliabo, that he needs to do something a little more special than what he's doing to make up time on the Frenchman. But he comes in like clockwork, and he's out of there quickly. Germain now against Sweden, Germany, Austria, and Italy, all on the range for the 3rd spot on the podium. And Germain starts with a miss.
Yeah, it's Austria and Italy who get off the mark quicker, despite coming in later. 2 misses now for the USA. Sweden with a miss as well. Germany dipping into the extra rounds. Slovenia, big winners from that, amongst this group of 6 who have come in around the same time.
Italy comes across the line in 3rd spot ahead of Ader of Austria. They're 47 and 49 seconds back respectively. Nelin with a little bit of trouble. Nelin really needed a clean stage there, and he left one standing and had to chase it. So now a minute back to 6th place for the United States, and watch where Nelin comes in for the Swedes.
It will be 10th.
1:15 back. It's a big gap now with 2 stages, 2 legs to go.
This is Taliabo. Look back at his final visit to the range of the day.
Back out on course. Going on that longer turn. They lengthened that turn yesterday from the first strip of snow you see inside there to your left. They athletes kind of come crashing into that turn a little too quickly and a little bit treacherous, so they pushed out to run that hill out a little bit more safely before having the athlete turn left.
Particularly today, that seems to be a good idea, doesn't it, with just how quick the course is.
Yes.
A balmy 3 degrees in comparison to yesterday, where we ended the day with quite heavy snow. Fiormaillet through the 13.7 check mark.
Ironically, the warm temperatures probably actually sped up the track because of that new snow. That new snow needed to melt off to make the course as fast as it is today.
Taliabeau, 0.24 or 24 seconds now behind. So he's eaten up 5.5 seconds since coming out the range.
The gloves are off for Taliabeau. He's not holding back anymore. He's going to try to make as much time on Kontiolahti as he can, if not just for this performance, but to kind of spark some high power output and kind of prime his body for the rest of this first week of competition here in Kontiolahti.
Giacomal as well, Italy closing the gap. 7 seconds they've eaten into the time that they left the range. Simon Eder around the same point as well.
Look at the skiing on Maxime Germain.
I was about to say, incredible.
Making time on Kontiolahti. He was 103 back. He's 55 back now, and he's gone past Vidmar of Czech Republic, and he's closing in now on Simon Eder. I wouldn't be surprised if he catches Eder and goes by him by the finish.
Well, both him and Campbell Wright putting the USA in a very good position. It's the final lap of the course for the athletes on leg 2 of this men's 4x7.5 kilometre relay. And it is France leading the way. Fiormaillet.
The United States doing it off of good skiing, because the shooting performance, they already have 5 misses between the first 2 legs. And they're still sitting just 55 seconds back, about a kilometer from the second exchange. It's a solid ski performance by both Germain and Campbell Wright. Jake Brown now going to get the tag.
And that's Taliabeau, who's coming into sight. The shots before, it was all Kontiolahti all by himself, but as starts to make his way up the bottom of the wall, Taliabeau, the gap is closing, but just by how much?
Last time check, it was 24 seconds. He's actually losing time. He lost a second to Kontiolahti from 13.7 to 14.4, so Kontiolahti punching back a little bit. Not much though. It's all negligible. It's 1.1 seconds he took back. But Beau trying to fire up his legs, and you can see the effort from Maxime Germain is starting to slow him ever so slightly as Eder creeps up on him from Austria. And Johannes Kuhn jump skating up top.
Yeah, a great lap from Johannes Kuhn.
Kuhn left the shooting range in 8th place, 109 back. He's now in 5th place, 56 back. And he's threatening to move into the top 3, and Germany would love to get on the podium.
Philipp Nadrat is next up for Germany. It's a team that performed quite well last season, to be fair, this German side. Through the range, but not stopping into the penultimate exchange.
The Germany finishing second in the overall standings for the men's relay last year. It's the best season they've had in almost a decade from a relay perspective. They're on the podium every single one of the relays. They didn't win one, but they were second or third in all 5 editions. So picking up where they left off, they're a little bit off the podium now, but they can certainly get there by the finish.
So France hand over. Fiormaillet, his job is done. Eric Perrault picks up the charge for this 3rd leg. Also on this leg yesterday in the mixed relay, the 23-year-old. And a youngster that plenty of, well, particularly those of a French persuasion are getting quite excited about. Norway. 28.4 down.
Yeah, Tarjei Bo definitely got slower in the second half of that. And that's what happens often, is you go out there and you have a big appetite and you try to make it all that time in the first half of the loop. And then you tire yourself out and you fatigue and you start losing that time that you were trying to make up in the first place.
Italy handing over in third. They're 41 seconds down. Germany 55.4. USA not far behind them though. Brown on this third leg for the USA. And talk us through the closers for the USA, Chad.
Well, Jake Brown is he's been a strong collegiate cross-country skier in the United States. He started out as a collegiate runner with a 5-kilometer run, ran for Princeton for a year, and then decided he didn't want to run anymore. He skied in high school, came back to the Midwest and skied, and ran for the St. Olaf College, where they won a Division III national championship, largely on his addition to their cross-country running squad. But that's really where he developed into more of an elite-level cross-country skier. It was at St. Olaf. And spent 1 year at Northern Michigan University as a D2 skier on a scholarship as a grad student, and moved on to biathlon. Tried biathlon, and now has been on part of the U.S. biathlon team for a better part of 5-6 years. Brown has a lot of experience. If he can keep his shooting under control and manage his effort on the course, he can keep the United States in this position. But Brown has been known to have epic meltdowns from the standing position. If he can just keep his head about him and not build the pressure on himself in the shooting range, that's probably the key for Jake Brown and the United States team. Yeah,
consistency needed on these last 2 legs. After seeing Jaman and Campbell Wright to put the USA in a strong position. Strong side, 29.7 down. And it's Bionats for Italy. Again, one of the athletes competed yesterday, but part of this group of young Italian talent who, well, there's no doubt that the Italian Federation will be looking at and pinning some high hopes on with the Olympics coming to Italian snow in 2026. Ponsaloma just under a minute down.
Jake Brown has a nice ride on Ponsaloma. The big thing that Brown has to watch is that he doesn't overemphasize his effort on the skis and get sucked into doing something, skiing at a pace that he can't shoot well at. Leitner for Austria, trailing by another 3 seconds back to the Americans.
There's Ponsaloma, who's on the final leg for Sweden yesterday in the mixed relay as they took third. Sebastian Samuelsson, who will try and bring it home for Sweden again on the single mixed with Ella Halvorsen yesterday.
Here's Eric Perrault, really beautiful skier. Tall, lanky skier, but you can see his angle and his body weight and how he uses his vectors to ski well. His uphill technique is the one. The technique he's in right now is not my favorite, but he is awesome on the flats and gradual downhills and gradual uphills. He's got a very smooth technique, one of the best technicians France has ever had in the speed techniques.
And he goes through 16.9. Still on time, approaching that checkpoint. So not far behind him.
It's interesting to see Bionats and Strumsheim, how they compare to each other. The United States still in the picture in 6th place. Brown letting Ponsaloma go now just a little bit, and that's probably a smart move by Jake Brown on the right-hand side of the screen. Bionats now into the time check. Where is he going to be? He was at the exchange. He was 41 seconds back, and this is going to be 45, so he's losing 4 seconds to Perrault. Perrault showing that he's in good shape.
Yeah, strong time as well. Just losing a little bit of time. There's not much between it though. Still a 30-second there and thereabouts gap as Eric Perrault, French youngster, leads the way.
So hard to get into a race when you have gaps like this late in the field. Trying to maintain contact so you have the ability to move into placings I mean, when you're in the position of Belgium right now, or even Finland, it's very hard to get back into those top spots and get into the top 10. Belgium holding on to the top 10 spots right now as we go to the first of 2 shooting stages of the third leg. Eric Perrault, well in control of this race right now for France.
Can he keep his cool as he drops down to the prone position? His first time into the range. All to himself. Two for 2. And 3 as well. And 4. And that's 5. And it's a great start in the range for Eric Perrault. Out before Norway have even made their way down to the mat.
That's exactly what France needs to keep doing. They have 0 plus 0 next to their shooting score. You want to win relays? Shoot zeros. That's what you need.
It's exactly what you've got to do when you're up against such a strong Norwegian side.
See if Strömsheim gives them anything to work with here.
Yeah.
Strömsheim, very methodical, a little slower than Perrault, but it doesn't matter. Got to keep it white, and he does. This is far from over. Remember who goes last for Norway. Johannes Tingesbø will go up against Emilien Jacquelin for the win if they can keep it close.
It's 2 misses for Biathlon and Italy, who finally gets his first hit on 3, again on 4. But he'll have to dip into those extra rounds. 2 misses for the USA as well, and Jake Brown.
Brown hits his last 3, though. That's the critical thing, that he came back from those 2 misses. You don't want to just throw it away.
Someone who hasn't, though, is Italy. Biathlon.
Oh, penalty loop for Biathlon. Italy's chances at a top 3 finish are just about done. Jake Brown gets all 5, but you can see the time that he gave away as those 2 misses have now dropped him down out of the top 5. Ponsiloma into 6th place, 117 back.
Once again, Ukraine having a brilliant day. They're up into 5th. Clean shooting as well. It's what you need to do.
Biathlon's finally out of the shooting range in 10th spot. A precipitous fall for the Italians, coming from the 3rd spot at the second exchange, all the way now down to the 8th spot, or 10th spot after shooting number 5. And that's a great example of how biathlon works in these relays. If you use the extra rounds and end up in the penalty loop, you'll lose a minute plus. Here's Perrault, all by his lonesome out front now. The gap, after shooting 5, 33.9 seconds. Perrault gives a few seconds away to Strömsheim, and that was not really critical, however, as they both hit 5. So Strömsheim just trying to do anything he can to give Johannes Tingesbø a chance at catching France in the last leg.
So 33.9 was the time that as he came out of shooting. It's up to 34.9 now. The gap from Eric Perrault back down to the Norwegian team and Strömsheim. This is Germany and Nazvat. 50.5 down on Eric Perrault.
Still solidly in the fight, though.
And what a comeback this is for Sweden and Ponsiloma. 1 minute 14.
This is what I was expecting. If Jake Brown wanted to get a ride into the top 3, he needed to actually match Ponsiloma on the range or beat him. And he had 2 extra shots to Ponsiloma had used 2 extra rounds, as did Jake Brown, but Brown used them more slowly than Ponsiloma.
And Ponsiloma will have to keep this up, though, if he's well, to hand over in the best position to give Sebastian Samuelsson as much of a chance of getting onto the podium as he can. We know just how quick Samuelsson can be. We saw plenty of it yesterday. And he'll have his eyes on a second podium in as many days. 19.4K.
French team riding perfect shooting so far in this men's relay, and that is really why they lead. It's only a one-shot difference to Norway, so also skiing very well by comparison. And we keep talking about the fact that they have fresh legs, but they definitely aren't out skiing the French. Here now is Stromsheim.
Yep, this French team acquitting themselves incredibly well through the first 3 legs. Stromsheim. Lars has moved up to top of his forehead, and you can see that steely focus.
Losing more time though. The last time check was 34. This is not going to help the Norwegian cause. The French have the Norwegians where they want them right now at 39 seconds back with one more shooting stage in the ski loop before the final exchange. This is a good situation for the French to actually take the victory from Norway today.
Yeah, 15 seconds behind Norway is Germany. Kontiolahti approaching that 19.4 mark now. About halfway up the wall. We'll get the clocking, and there it is. Well, he's dropped time as well. Lost 2 seconds.
Yeah, he just doesn't look like himself. He doesn't look like the Kontiolahti that we know at his best. It's a little more labored than we're used to seeing him. Dudchenko for Ukraine doing a great job keeping them in the mix of the top 5. Jake Brownman making up some of that time on those teams ahead of him. Felix Leitner has joined Brown for Austria right on 1 second back of him and got a nice pack chasing that top 5 race.
Yeah, Dudchenko 6th in the mixed team yesterday, also on the 3rd leg for that one. Perot.
The opportunities to catch France. They're going to dry up here if Perot keeps it clean.
And he's doing just that. 4 for 4. Can he go clean? He does. It's incredible shooting from France. A big thumbs up.
He even had a break of the rhythm with a sort of a half ejection of the round, and he had to break rhythm for just a second. But that's a sign of an athlete who's really in tune with where they are shooting, is when you have a little break in that rhythm, and it doesn't really throw you off your game. France leading this World Cup opening men's relay with perfect shooting on the range. Norway, you'd think Norway with the 0-1 right now would be leading by a minute, and they're back by 40 seconds coming in to shooting number 6.
So they're 3 for 3. 4 for 4. But they can't make it 5. Stromsheim just stuttering on the final.
Almost didn't go down. You could hear it was a trip bullet. But he gets out of there unscathed. Navrat with a miss. Sweden chasing.
Oh, well, this opened the door for Sweden to come back into it. Kontiolahti struggled on that last lap. Yet to take his first shot. And there it is. Well, Germany still struggling. 3 for 3 goes Sweden. It's 4. Can Sweden lead? And they will go clear.
Going to be a great next loop between Navrath, who is the strongest of the skiers on the German squad right now. Maybe he and Johannes Kuhn about equal up against Kontiolahti.
Navrath just coming through, just ahead. Kontiolahti fractionally behind, just 1 second between those two.
Ukraine out of the range first for the race for the top 5 spots. The podium spots look like they're just about taken up at this point. With the time ticking away, now 140 back. The United States still just too many missed shots to be in it.
Yeah, Finland up into 6th. Haven't mentioned them particularly much today.
Brown moves into 8th spot, 159 back for the United States. He's used 4 extra rounds on the day.
Finland. Well, they've been out of the top 10 for most of this race so far.
Yeah, they moved up to 6th now. Great performance for the home team.
As we're back on course with Eric Perrault. 21.2. He's just gone through. The gap back to Norway was 47.2. Well, that, I imagine, you're getting a little bit bigger. Is still on time.
Pretty solid off that recovery is Strumsheim. Slowing down a little bit, though, at the end of the race. As you see, he's been dropping time to Eric Perrault. Perrault's now moved up to 50 seconds ahead of Strumsheim at the 21.2 kilometer mark.
Yeah, the gap is opening. Strumsheim going backwards on where he came out at that final shooting.
But we've seen bigger gaps swallowed up by Johannes Tingnes Bø. The question is he going to be primed enough to catch Emilien Jacquelin in the last lap or last leg of this relay? Here's Ponsiluoma now, making the move around Germany into 3rd, putting the Swedes into medal position. You're going to have a showdown between Sebastian Samuelsson, who was 9th in the overall World Cup standings last year, against Philip Horn, who was 20th. So not a huge discrepancy between the two, but certainly Sebastian Samuelsson is a stronger and more decorated athlete than Horn of Germany.
Yeah, and it felt like Ponsiluoma knew that as he launched what seemed to be quite decisive attack there to go up into 3rd. Back with our leader as he approaches the wall. Lap 9 of 12. 21.9 kilometers, the next checkpoint. And he is well clear. 50.6, the last gap.
Waiting to see if Strumsheim is dropping any more time. Now, Perrault has done his job. He's skied a great 3rd leg. He competed yesterday as well. So Perrault, maybe a little bit primed from yesterday's race, putting time on Strumsheim. Here's Strumsheim now into the wall. Kind of veered to his left. I don't know why he was moving that way. Maybe he wants a little bit more firm ground on the track to the left.
Yeah, we've seen a few of the athletes as he takes a tumble, and that is not where he wants to be.
No.
It's so hard to regain your rhythm, and you can see the impact of that on his face. He grits his teeth and drives up the wall, but that will affect the timings. He's 54.9 down now.
The time keeps slipping away for Norway. It's not in big chunks, but it's in many small chunks, and it's adding up to a lot. 54 seconds, it's going to be near a minute at the exchange. Ponsiluoma trying to move up on the leaders as well. He's gone from 116 back to 106, so going better than yesterday's close of the race. It's
an 11-second gap he's opened up on the German team as well. So Ponsiluoma doing everything he can to put Sebastian Samuelsson into a prime position to get a 3rd podium in 3 races for Sweden. It would be an incredible start to the season if they can do it today.
This was the Ponsiluoma that I was looking for at the last loop of yesterday's race. It shows up today after a single race, kind of primed the pump, and now a nice race for Finland. They move into the top 5, and the Finns would love to see the Finns in the top 5. They haven't been in the top 5 in quite some time.
Well, they were down as low as 14th when you look back. Managed to really, on that 3rd leg, work their way up now into 5th, which is a great position. They are, however, 143 down on Eric Perrault.
The United States really needs to be in contention with a team like Finland if they want to try to get to the podium. They need to be able to compete against them in a situation like this. Right now, the difference between Finland and the United States is just 20 seconds, but the United States has 6 more extra rounds than the Finns, and that's the difference.
So Jacquelin on this final leg for France. He was also on the final leg yesterday and was beaten in the home straight. It was such a dramatic end to the race, beaten by Norway. who will be trying to chase him down once again. We saw something quite spectacular yesterday. Well, Chad, what do you think the chances are of that happening again today? France have just performed so well, haven't they, going clear? It's been an incredible shooting performance, but it is Johannes Tingersbø on this final leg. Will he be able to eat up that gap?
I think you can see that the athletes who raced yesterday looked like that first race might have helped a little bit with the ability to push. And as a coach, I know that. Like, a lot of times I've taken athletes into championship events and been a little bit cautious with their intensity. But often you need intensity to get the intensity, and you can see the difference in Kontiolahti today. He actually threw down that last lap, where he had no ability to do that yesterday.
He's 3.6 seconds quicker on that third leg than Eric Perrault, which is incredible when you look at just how tough it seemed that finish, that last lap was for him yesterday, to be the quickest out on the course. Yeah, it's been a brilliant third leg for Kontiolahti and Sweden.
Kontiolahti's time on that lap alone is 18 seconds faster than Eric Perrault. That's how fast he skied that last lap. That's the Kontiolahti I was looking for yesterday. And I think you were kind of like, as kind of a new commentator of the sport, Alan, you were kind of like, what are you talking about? He's really pretty slow. But that's the Kontiolahti. Now you see the Kontiolahti that I was expecting yesterday.
Well, he certainly has it in his repertoire, the ability to do that, and he's used it to really good avail today, because he has put the incredibly quick Sebastian Samuelsson in a prime position, and you can see him there glued to the back of Johannes Tingersbø.
Now Norway has to worry about dealing with Sweden. That's for second. And, I think that this is not what the Norwegian team came here to do. Like we said before, they don't come here to get second. They come here to win. And now they have a huge job to catch up to the French. But he does have somebody to work with in that process.
That is a very good point, Chad. As we're on board with the athletes in second and third at the moment. Nothing between these two. They are 57 seconds down on Jacqueline.
Johannes Bø matched stride for stride by Sebastian Samuelsson. I have to say, Samuelsson was not one of the athletes who I thought looked flat yesterday. He skied quite well in the opening race. Here's the German horn now. Thought he was going to maybe be doing battle for a bronze medal position with Samuelsson, but Kontiolahti turned that train right around, catching Andres Stransheim on his heels.
It's about 25 seconds between Samuelsson and Horn. So there is a possibility that it could swing the other way. And Samuelsson is stuck to the back of Johannes Tingersbø.
But you can see that dynamic shift, that the gap that Kontiolahti made up in that last loop completely reshaped the race entirely, at least for silver and bronze.
Not for the leader of the race. It is France and Jacqueline, who haven't put a foot wrong over the course of this race, and particularly with Eric Perrault on that penultimate leg.
Should point out that the fastest time of each leg of this relay wins some extra prize money at the end of the day. It's a new rule by the IBU, and they're hoping that it kind of creates an incentive for athletes to, even if their team's not in it, that there's some prize money involved and a preem for your efforts.
That's something, of course, that we will keep an eye on when this race draws to a close, and of course later on this afternoon when we are back for the women's 4x6 kilometres. That's 5:20 Central European time. And the gap, well, it is being closed by 2 seconds, and it's Samuelsson who is just under a second ahead of Johannes Tingersbø. Philip Horn.
In a terrible position is Philip Horn. He's in fourth spot with nobody to work with. It's kind of a lonesome place to be. And, you know, kind of a coulda, shoulda, woulda situation for Germany with the spectacular last loop of the Swede Kontiolahti. Of course, seeming to break down, though, is Fabian Claude has the fastest first leg time in 1933. Tomaso Giacomel leads the second leg 1932, Ponzolom in 1945. So it's slowing down each leg.
So into the range for the first time, Jacquelin. Can he continue France's perfect form? 3 for 3, 4 for 4. Can he make 5? He does indeed. It's exceptional from France.
Every single shot in the dead center X of the target. That would have been a great group in a shooting competition, and he did it in about 12 seconds.
It's perfection. It's brilliant from France, and each and every one of this four-man quartet are doing their bit in ensuring that they can keep that gap back to the 5-time overall Crystal Globe winner, who is tucked in there just behind Sebastian Samuelsson. They drop down together.
Now the battle for silver. These athletes know each other very well.
Sweden 3 for 3, 4 for 4.
Oh, and a miss by Johannes. Making his task just that much tougher. Norway came back late in the mixed relay yesterday to take the win. They're going to have to do the same thing today. But they're going to be over a minute back by the time Johannes Tingesbø makes his way to the time check, and they're going to be in third place.
Samuelsson now 52.5 down on Jacquelin. You can see Johannes Tingesbø sat in third. He has work to do.
So the top 3 spots are sewn up, as is the fourth. Germany going to be trailing by over 20 seconds. The podium spots going to be 27 seconds back of the third place. So they start the season off the podium, and that would be the first time since the 2023 season that they would be off the podium.
So a miss for Finland, but then going clean on the next 4. Ukraine going clean with their 5, and Ukraine will lead Otto Invinius and Finland out of the range. Ukraine in 5th, Finland 6th, and France confidently leading the way.
Sean Doherty leaves the range for the United States in 7th, behind Finland by 10 seconds as we go back to the front of the field. And Emilien Jacquelin left the shooting range from the 7th visit by 52.5 seconds ahead of the Swedes. There's just not much Johannes Tingesbø can do at this point. There's too much time to make up. The course conditions are too fast. And Jacquelin looks good on the skis. He's not really ceding any time to the Norwegian over the course of this third leg so far.
The lead very much out of his hands. Let's see what the gap is to Sebastian Samuelsson. Sebastian Samuelsson coming through 57 seconds down on Jacquelin, and Johannes Tingers 62 seconds down on the leader. So just 5 seconds separating those two now. So that gap has, well, it's gone down by about 2 seconds. Johannes Tingers has been able to close. Philip Horn through now, 30 seconds behind Johannes Tingesbø.
Horn looks fine. He doesn't have anybody to race at this point. He's just all by his lonesome out there. But Johannes Tingesbø is going to have to do something spectacular, I think, even just to catch Samuelsson. Samuelsson looks very solid in his ski form right now. In fact, he's skiing about, he's matching Johannes Tingesbø ski-wise, nearly stride for stride. He lost a few seconds in that last time check from at 26.2 kilometers. He was 52.7 back. And he's come 3 seconds closer now to Johannes, so losing 3 seconds over the last kilometer or so. And you can see that Samuelsson is probably not pushing very hard. He's probably just trying to maintain his composure and make sure that he's ready to hit the shots. He may not even mind if Johannes Tingesbø catches him, because it gives him a little bit of an advantage knowing that he's not pushing quite as hard into the range.
Yeah, exactly. Johannes Tingesbø has had to do more work to catch up with Samuelsson. He takes a quick look over his shoulder, feels the presence of Tingesbø breathing down his neck. Up the wall they go. Well, I don't get the sense that Samuelsson is all worried that Johannes Tingesbø is catching back up to him. In fact, he might be pulling him in and maybe trying to pull him offside a little bit and maybe tire him out, so that he can maybe get an extra shot on him. He knows that he's probably still going to have trouble disposing of Bø if they're even on the shooting range. So Samuelsson even moving left to let Bø by. Bø doesn't take it though. And here we go, into the range. One final time for the French team, who lead the way. Jacquelin. One final shoot.
At this point, no pressure on him. What you really want to do is come home clean. The team is 0+0 right now. And almost more than the win, almost more than what it delivers. He's got time to miss a shot or two, but boy, it'd be nice to finish the day with a 0 next to the team effort.
Oh, and there's the miss. It's finally come. Just one, though. He was so quick, wasn't he, between the second and the third. And it just goes out at 11 o'clock.
You can tell that he feels a little bit of that. He took it a little faster than he needed to, kind of jumped on it, and now there's another miss. Kind of dirtying the possibility of a clean team stage. And I have to think that that's what he shook his head at. But now he actually has to hit this, because he's in trouble. If he misses this one, now he's out of there. The French are going to win, but still a little bit of a shame for Jacquelin to dirty the score.
Yep, him and the French team. Well, they would have wanted perfection, as you can see. Third and fourth, Samuelsson and Bø come into the range just behind, just out of shot as Jacquelin made his way round into his final lap. So neck and neck, Norway and Sweden. One final time into the range. It's Sweden who strike first, Norway follow. 2 for 2 go Sweden, and Norway now. It's perfect for Norway, and it's a mistake from Samuelsson, who takes a deep breath, readjusts.
Oh, and he misses a second as well. And Johannes Tingesbø will not catch the French at 41 seconds back, but a nice move forward, nice leap forward with a clean shooting stage. And sort of Johannes Tingesbø didn't have a lot to say about where he got tagged in this race, so he can't feel bad about it. But Norway, they're gonna, they had a perfect score. They won every single relay last year, and they start the season with a second place. It's gonna hurt a little bit.
Germany. And Philip Warren struggling through this final shoot.
Oh, he's
it will be a penalty loop. But it will just be one loop.
The good news for him is that it's nearly a minute to the next team, so he's not going to lose a spot on the rank order, but still a little bit of a little bit like Jacquelin. You don't want the one of the penalty loop as a team. You'd like to see that 0 plus something. Now Germany, they're going to get fourth, but they're going to have a penalty loop. But that's just a little bit of a nick on your day.
So Finland and Ukraine into the range. They're in 5th and 6th. USA joining them now. Ukraine missing 2. Finland going 3 for 3. And from the noise and excitement of the range to back onto the track, and the 28.7 kilometre split, which is where we find Jacquelin all by himself. That's Otto Invenius, so highly tipped as a youngster. He performed well. They started so well yesterday, didn't they, Finland, in the single mix, and then dropped off towards the end. But someone who plenty have got eyes on for the future.
It's a great finish for the Finns, though. Top 5. The United States moves into 6th behind the Finns. They're about 22 seconds or 24 seconds back, though. It's going to be a lot for Sean Doherty to make up. So Finland and the United States in 5th and 6th. That's a jump forward for both those teams. Really, only trailing the best teams in the world.
Yeah, and you have to say for Finland, they've fought so hard. USA sort of have been there more there and thereabouts over the course of the race so far, but Finland have had to fight back from dropping down to, well, beyond 14th and up now into 5th, and this will be a good end to the day for Finland. Of course, we have the women's race to come later on. 40 seconds, still the gap between Jacquelin and Johannes Tingersbø, and then Sebastian Samuelsson 23 seconds down on Bø.
Nice thing for Jacquelin, he knows it's a long week ahead in Kontiolahti, lots of races. He probably figures into competing in all of them. He can kind of just go on autopilot now, as in a lot of cases can Samuelsson and Bø. They don't have this gripping race they have to like put out energy for. They can get two good races in a row, solid races in a row. Came apart a little bit yesterday, but Jacquelin looking pretty good on this last climb.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's skiing with that extra bit of freedom that he didn't have yesterday. The gap at 40 seconds, whereas yesterday it all came down to the last 100 metres, and he was beaten by Norway. You could see the disappointment on his face as he stepped up onto the podium yesterday. But today has been a much better day for France.
That victory, that last second victory by Norway yesterday, looking a little bit more important today now as the men dropped the relay win today. And it's been over a year, a season since this team has not won the relay. They dominated last season, and in fact made the relay somewhat boring, the men's relay somewhat boring with how easily they won almost every relay last year. So a little change in the scene on the men's relay for day 1 of this World Cup season. Still a lot of season to go yet, and obviously the biathlon relay, a huge part of the sport and a major focal point of the event.
There'll be another good podium for Sweden as well. Gold and bronze yesterday, and they will once again stand on the bottom step of the podium. Kontiolahti really putting the work in on the third leg. Well, here comes France. Jacquelin can look around and soak this one up. No danger from behind like yesterday. Him and France performed so well. He points to the badge on his arm. He can celebrate today. France have done it. They've sprung an upset. We'll wait for Norway and Johannes Tingersbø to come round, but it is France who take the victory in our first race of the day. They are victorious here in Kontiolahti. Here comes Johannes Tingersbø. Well, him and Norway would have wanted so much more from today and expected so much more. A full team of fresh legs, but it didn't quite go their way. France were a spectacular session of shooting, just dropping the ball twice, and that was, well, with Jacquelin, well, he was slightly not so much under pressure in the end and could relax a little bit. It didn't have the impact in the end. France have done it. Norway take second.
You know, Ellen, nobody is more aware of how hard it is to beat Norway in a relay than this French team. So they are absolutely thrilled. I know that inside they're bursting. They don't want to put it too much in the Norwegians' faces as they congratulate each other, but that is even though the race was pretty mundane, it was a tectonic shift in confidence for the French team against this highly touted Norwegian team.
And here comes Sebastian Samuelsson and Sweden. 3 podiums from 3 races, 2 bronze medals and a gold. And it's a great start to the season for this Swedish team. Well, he had the absolute high of standing atop the podium with a new teammate in the single mix yesterday, and he'll be on the podium again. This time it will be 3rd as France line up to take their photos. And there's the smile on the face of Jacqueline.
It's a good feeling to win, and they deserve it, every bit of it. They were perfect up until the final shooting stage. 2 missed shots on the day for the French, and that'll get it done today. I mean, the Norwegians. Important to point out, the Norwegians only missed 3 shots. That's a little bit unnerving. I have a feeling their ski fitness is not quite what they were hoping for today.
A high five for Otto Envenius. He will take 5th place for Finland, and you can see how much that means to both him and the crowd. He thanks them for their support and can enjoy that. A huge smile on his face. Him and the team having to really fight back.
That's the United States behind, and Otto Envenius actually came over to train with Team USA this summer at Soldier Hollow in Utah, so very friendly with the American team. So a nice race between him and his training buddies. But the United States goes into 6th. That's the 2nd best relay finish of the modern era. They had a 5th place at World Championships a few years back. So a 6th place finish for the United States. They missed 11 shots, and that's actually a point that they can improve on for the coming relays.
Particularly with the first 2 runners in that one, Campbell Wright and Maxime Jouin. They were very, very quick in their ski times.
Yeah,
set up the last 2 very well indeed, you have to say.
Leg 4 goes to Johannes Tingesbø. He'll get the prize money bonus of the fastest last leg. The first leg winner, just trying to find it here. First leg winners was, I'll get those. The board is just too full at the moment.
You have to scroll all the way back quite some way to find leg 1, don't you?
So Fabian Claude won. He beats Sturholm Lagred to the exchange, so he gets the first. He gets the prize money for that leg. Leg number 3 goes to Martin Ponsaloma. And leg number 2, Tommaso Giacomel. So a little shot in the arm. We want to follow that all season long as a new rule. Smiles by the Norwegians, but not emphatic smiles. They feel the sting of defeat a little bit. A team that is used to winning, they're going to go home with a little more somber than they planned to.
A nice little word to the camera there from Johannes Tingesbø, who says next time they will be back. But can France keep up this exceptional form?
Slovenia Kontiolahti in 11th. Looks like we'll see 17. Look a little bit further down the start order here. And it looks like after at the 29.4 kilometer mark, the final team to come across the line will be Romania, I believe. They were in 15th spot, so a few more teams to finish here. This is Czech Republic, who was kind of figuring it into it earlier in the competition, but it just shows you how things can quickly unravel in a men's relay. The time can just melt away.
Yeah, Czechia starting incredibly strong. But we have seen some plenty of change, particularly in the order below the top 3. Even saying that, there was a point where we had obviously Italy incredibly high up, Simon Eder as well going well for Austria. So there was plenty of shuffling around that second leg, and then as we moved on to the third, some big changes in the order. As Poland crossed the line.
Two more teams to finish. This is Belgium. rule of the sport is if you get lapped by any team, you're immediately, the team is removed from the competition. So that's why we started with 22 competitors and we'll only finish with 15 as Bulgaria, Slovakia, Lithuania, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Estonia, and Canada were all lapped. So Romania closes out the first men's relay of the season.
What a great race we had. France springing the surprise. It really was through the first 3 legs and into the first shooting of the final leg. An incredible watch to see them go completely clear. It was the final shooting where they dropped 2, but still had an advantage over Norway of just over 25 seconds when it came down to it. Confirmation of the rest of the results, including Romania, who crossed the line the last to complete the race, and you can see then the lapped order behind. And now we will wait on for the flower ceremony, and France will be standing atop the podium. It's Fabien Claude who led them out so strongly, handing over to Antoine Filmayer. Quick flash of the heart rate data there on his watch. Eric Perrault on the 3rd leg once again, as he was yesterday in the mixed relay. It was 2nd yesterday in the mixed relay. It will be 1st today. And Chad, really, particularly when you look at the likes of Eric Perrault, the confidence that standing on the podium twice in 2 days, 2 from 2 for Eric Perrault in terms of his races. How much will that give him for the rest of the season?
Oh, I think that anytime you're a young athlete, you're trying to get experience and confidence. It's a great thing to do at this early in the season, and I think Perrault really was a pivotal piece because he's the least experienced and he had the most traffic to deal with. He really set up the last 2 guys, Emilia Jacquelin and Fabien Claude, with a great performance and a victory that has been long in coming. Last time that the French have won a relay, and looking back here, it was at the World Championships in Oberhof. So they did beat the Norwegians in the 23 World Championships, but the last World Cup, I mean, you have to go further back than that. And it looks
Emilia,
like 2021.
What a performance for France today. Was it a perfect win for your team?
It was nearly perfect, maybe the best relay ever done in biathlon history, but unfortunately the last shoot, I felt this weight. You know, we always think about 0 mistake in relay, and seriously, after 2 relay, I was already thinking about that. So, you know, when I start my relay, I was like, okay, I will try to stay focused on what I have to do, not think about that. But after my prone shooting, clean shooting, I tried to stay focused, but I only 2 meters of the first range. I felt something on my body like, okay, maybe we can do that. That's insane. So yeah, I was shaking a lot, but I'm happy that I managed it well, as the best as I could. It was for me, it was a really interesting weekend. Try to catch people yesterday, to be alone today with this weight of history, because we really wanted to make that, and we were so close at the end. But yeah, it's they were so crazy. Fabien, Quentin, and Eric. Seriously, yeah, it's. I think our coach can be proud tonight.
You guys did an amazing job. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, isn't that a really interesting interview? And he speaks so incredibly well, doesn't he? And really puts into words that feeling of going into the range for the final time and wanting to make history. You can see there the pressure that he had on his shoulders.
Yeah, you need to realize that they clearly had the clean relay on their mind as something they wanted to achieve. And now looking back at our call and also remembering the pictures, you can see that that it bothered him that he missed that shot. There was no doubt about it at the time that you could see that it bothered him that he missed it. But we couldn't know, we couldn't go back and be in his mind at that moment. But there is something pretty special about a 4-leg relay perfect on the day, and they nearly have it.
France, oh so close. Nonetheless, a historic win. Norway unable to compete for the lead really at any point after France came through with spectacular first 3 legs.
And the Norwegians will have to go back to the drawing board to try to figure out how to beat a nearly perfect French team. But if you're going to drop 2 shots, you might as well do it at the end when the race is already won, which is kudos and a hats off to the French team on a, it's not an easy shooting night either. The night was wet and but still feels good for France right now.
Well, that's the interesting point, isn't it? As much as sort of we said at the time, he didn't have the pressure on him from behind in terms of that he was going to be caught. He did have that internal pressure, and it can swing both ways. If you're more relaxed, there's a potential you could miss the targets, and then also in the other way, if you're really heads up about getting a fully clean relay, then that pressure stands as well. And there are the standings, of course, only after 1 competition, so 90 points going the way of France, 75 to Norway. And you can see behind preparations now in place for the women's event taking place later on this afternoon and will flow through into the evening. 5:25 Central European time. The Nations Cup score, France leading the way, Sweden dropping down now to 3rd, Norway up into 2nd. And a reminder, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, do go and download, if you haven't already, the IBU app, where you can find all of that data and standings at the tip of your fingers. Fans packing out stand A and having a very good time indeed. Waiting on for the flower ceremony. Of course, now on to the first day of December. No surprise, see plenty of festive outfits in there. The French contingent, Shadu, you noted yesterday, have been growing over the years in travelling numbers and made plenty of noise today.
Yeah, it's great to see fans making their way. I mean, this venue is not an easy venue to get to. It's not like there's a major airport nearby. So, it's not. It's definitely one of the smallest crowds on hand of the World Cup season. But the quality of the organizing committee and the experience of this Finnish venue is undoubted, and it's why the IBU has such confidence in this as a World Cup opener. There's a lot of details that you have to master and be ready for, and to have a snow trail ready in December in this day and age is actually not as easy as you'd think, based on the weather patterns. So, hats off to Kontiolahti. Still a lot of racing left. We've got a whole week ahead of us, of action, biathlon action from Kontiolahti, and they've done a great job so far after day 2.
You want to disqualify us? I have shots in mind. Check it before you go to the bathroom.
Well, here we go. The athletes making their way over to the podium. France leading the way after, I'd say, an almost historic victory in the regards that they went so close to having a completely clean shoot. Still historic in the manner in which they've ended for now. Norway's dominance.
Yeah, first relay World Cup relay victory for the men since the 2021 season. So that's a pretty significant milestone to capture, and it's gonna be a little bit of a party in the French hotel tonight, but not too much because they've got the individual races coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, the athletes will have a break on Monday before we head into the individual races that will end out the week. Everyone lined up, bibs adjusted. So Sweden first to make their way onto the podium. 3 podiums from 3 races. A great start to the season for Sweden. They made an impressive start to last season as well, the Swedish team. It was on home snow this time last year in Östersund.
Yeah, the key for Sweden. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Key for Sweden really was Victor Brandt in the first leg. I think that he just needed to make sure that he handed off in a reasonable spot after leg number 1. He did just that. That was his job, and Sweden's been trying to find somebody to fill that spot, that relay spot for their team, and Brandt has been the go-to guy now for a couple stabs at it, and he's done his job well.
Here come Norway. Over a year they held an impressive streak in terms of relay wins on the World Cup circuit. France today have put that streak to an end. But still plenty of smiles as the Norwegian quartet step up. Løjglid, Bø, Stronsheim and Johannes Tingersbø It closed incredibly quickly, but still 25 seconds was the advantage.
Yes, while Norway has lost, they've lost the last 2 World Championship relays. That was a string of 13 straight victories. That was broken today by the French. It's a pretty impressive run over the course of 2 seasons.
Yes, of course, Sweden, who are the world champions in this event.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
And the team who put Norway's impressive streak to an end. France, well supported by the crowd. A handshake to both the teams, make their way up and onto the podium. So close to being perfect, but an impressive win nonetheless. France taking top spot in the men's 4 by 7.5 kilometre relay. Quite tight on the podiums as they all have to shuffle around to find some space. Claude, Fillon-Maillet, Perrault and Jacquelin receiving their medals. And Chad, as we mentioned, the next day these men will compete. Well, they've got a day's rest. How will they spend that?
I'll probably spend some time laying in bed, you know, eating. First of all, eating a lot. You have to. The one hard thing about this World Cup circuit is it's incessant racing. It's 3-4 races in a week. You got to keep the calories coming, and you got to limit the amount of extra stress in your life. But you also need to go shake out today's race a little bit. So they'll probably exercise a little bit, but not really quote unquote train tomorrow.
So there is your podium. France up top, Norway taking silver, and Sweden another podium on 3rd spot. Well, a priceless moment there as the quartet of France lead the crowd in the national anthem. They'll now be draped in the tricolour. What a race for France, and what a moment. France victorious in the men's 4 by 7.5 kilometre relay. And we will be back later on this evening. 5:25 is when we get underway for the women's even 4 by 6K relay.